Today we're going to be talking about the exclusive buyer representation agreement in the state of Tennessee. First of all, before you sign anything ever, you should definitely read it and have a conversation with your realtor or whoever is getting you to sign it, no matter what it's for. So that's just good advice for life. So in the exclusive buyer's representation agreement, this is really to protect you and the realtor. So in the agreement, the reason that we like for people to sign that when we're going to commit to work for them is because I'm working every day looking for a home for them. I'm scheduling tours, I'm getting information and helping them do their due diligence. So I want them to buy a home with me because that is my job. That is how I make money. So if you want the realtor to work for you and to be actively working for you every day, then this agreement will establish that relationship with this person. So you don't want to meet someone at a house off of Zillow and just sign an agreement with them right away. You probably want to get to know them, maybe try to interview them, maybe interview other realtors, and just kind of get an idea of what they can provide for you. Ask them what their services are, ask them how long the time frame. There's a lot of questions you want to ask whenever you're going to sign this agreement. So in the exclusive buyer's representation agreement, there are several pages. So the first part of it establishes the term. So this is the term you're going to work with this realtor. Some people put 6 months, some people put a year. There's really not any standard because there are blanks in there. That's why there are blanks. It's so that you and the realtor can decide how long you want to work with them in an exclusive relationship. So this has the day you started working with them and the day that this will end. So this does not mean that you have to buy a house with them. It just means that if you do buy a house during this agreement, this is your realtor and you're going to work with them. So it's not meant to trap you. You can cancel agreements anytime you want. Some realtors have fees that you have to pay if you cancel that agreement. And that's because they've driven to many houses and done a lot of work for you. And that still takes a lot of their time. And so sometimes they do ask for a fee. I do not have a fee whenever you cancel a contract with me. I feel like if for whatever reason you don't want to work with me and want to cancel that, you should not have to pay a fee to me. So maybe when you are talking to a realtor and trying to decide if you want to work with them as your designated agent, that might be a good question to ask them. The next section of this agreement is called client duties. So when you enter a contract of any kind, each party is doing something. That's why you're having a contract to sign. So in this case, there are some client duties that as the client, this is what you will do. So one of the duties, for example, says that you will purchase a property exclusively through this broker during the term of this agreement. So when you sign this, you then are going to work with that realtor. That is your realtor. So if you go somewhere and someone asks you if you've signed something, you have a realtor, and that's what this establishes. The client duty also says that the client is not under an exclusive right to buy contract or an exclusive buyer representation agreement with any other agent at this time. So when they're asking you to sign this at this point, you've hopefully had conversations with this realtor. It's not just something they're going to meet you at a house one time and then send this to you in an email to sign and say, just sign it. We're going to work together. So when you read through this, it says that you are saying when you sign this that you are not working with another agent. So that means that you have not had this conversation with another agent and signed this form. So if you've signed this form with two different people, that would kind of be a conflict because you're saying in here that you have not done that. So it's be sure to talk with the agent and let them know. And if you have signed something with another agent, realtors will ask you that because they don't want to try to work with someone that's already working with another person. So they're not trying to ask you personal questions or get in your business. They just want to make sure that they're following their ethical guidelines as well. And so if you've signed this with someone, you are in a designated agency relationship and you have a realtor. So you don't want to sign this with two different people. The next section of your designated agency agreement is compensation. So in the compensation, it has a big statement. The first thing there says broker compensation is not set by law and compensation rates are fully negotiable. So you may talk to one realtor and they may tell you that they'll work as your buyer's agent for 2%. And another realtor may say 2.5 and another may say 3 or 4. So when you read through it, you want to look at that number. So it actually says the broker shall be compensated an amount of blank. And so this is based on the total sales price in consideration of the broker's services as described herein. So that does not say that the buyer will pay this. But when the buyer signs it, they are saying that the broker will be compensated this amount. In a lot of the transactions here in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, the sellers are paying that compensation. So when I go out to a house and you want to buy the house, I ask that realtor, is this seller offering a compensation to me as a buyer's agent? And if they say that they are, then a lot of this fee could be covered by that, if not all. So that's another thing you may want to talk to them about, is that, how will we pay this if the seller of the home that I want, if they won't pay it, what would we do? So that's a good conversation as well to have with your realtor. A lot of people don't want to talk about compensation because sometimes that can be scary, because it's like you're already getting a home, you're already paying a down payment, you're already paying all these inspection fees and things like that, and now I've got to pay my realtor too. But the good news is as a buyer's agent, a lot of times the seller is paying this fee. So that's why it says the broker will be compensated. So it doesn't necessarily say that that buyer is paying it, because a lot of times that is not what happens. So just to know, and then it goes over some more things about compensation that you'll want to go through, but that's a big section on here. Then there's a section on agency, and it gives you definitions of what that means. What is a broker? What is a designated agent? And it reads through this. And so in this agreement, you're actually making an agreement in the states of Tennessee and Virginia with the broker. So in the agreement, it says that my client is a client of Epique Realty, and that Epique Realty is assigning me, Amber Crum, as that designated agent. So that way, if another agent at Epique lists a home, Epique's working with that seller. And then if I am the buyer's agent, Epique's also working with that buyer. So it allows for Epique to take a bunch of different clients and then assign them to different realtors. The next sections are about the duties that each party is owed. So it goes through the different duties, like what are some of the duties as your realtor that I owe to you when we enter into this agreement. So this is to make sure that everybody is clear of what is going to happen and what I'm supposed to be doing and what the client is supposed to be doing. So it goes through the duties owed to all parties, the duties owed to the client. And so it goes through these different duties so everyone is clear of the expectations. There are quite a bit of them, so these are just the next sections that give these definitions that you will want to read through. The next section on the designated agency paperwork is agent disclosure. So for this section, it's important that you read this because it says that during this agreement, the client should not go and contact listing agents directly, and they will make arrangements to view and inspect the property through their agent. So if you're thinking that your agent isn't calling them and setting things up in time, and you go and decide you're going to just call the other realtor or the homeowner, you are not supposed to do that. That is what your realtor is there for. So if your realtor is not doing those things and you think they should be, you need to talk to them. Say, why is it taking so long to get this inspection done? Or why is it taking so long to have this scheduled? Or, kind of ask your realtor, because that's who you're in the relationship with, not the seller or not the other agent. So another thing under this part is, in the event the client does come into contact with a seller's agent, like at an open house, the client shall immediately inform the seller's agent that the client is represented by a broker. So if you're looking for a home and I'm your agent, you can go to all the open houses you want. And if we've signed this agreement, you're still working with me and I'm your realtor. So if one day, if I'm not there and you see a property and you're driving around, you just want to go see that property, go in there and see it. And when they say, hi, do you have a realtor? You're going to say, yes, I do have a realtor. And if they ask, you're going to tell them that your realtor is Amber Crum and you've signed designated agency with Amber. So I feel it's very important that my clients understand the different agreements and understand that when we enter this, I am their agent. And so this way they're informed and educated. And when they go to these things, they don't tell the realtor that they don't have an agent when they really do. So that's why it's important to have these conversations and not just rush into signing the agreement the first day you meet someone or without really reading through it and talking with them about it. So the next thing under agent disclosure says, if a client purchases the property covered by this agreement through another real estate licensee or seller's agent or directly from the seller, the client understands that they will owe a commission to the broker as it's set forth in this agreement. So if we have this agreement and you decide that you're going to go and do a for sale by owner and find somebody that has their house for sale without a realtor so that no one pays any fees, you can do that. But then in this agreement, if we are still in an agreement, then you will still pay whatever the percent in there is to that realtor, because that is your realtor you have agreed to. So also it says if you decided to go, let's say you found another agent and you really didn't want to work with the one you signed this with, You found another agent and you go to them and you think, Amber won't know. She's not going to know. What's going to stop me? I'm just going to go find another agent. She'll never know. So you go and do that. And if the person does find out for in any way that you have done that, they could go and try to enforce that you pay this because you are in an agreement with them. So it's best if you decide that you don't want to be in the agreement to talk to your realtor first and try to end that agreement before moving on to anything else. The next section goes over buyer's authorizations. And this is the part where Epique Realty says that this agent, and there's a blank, and you put in the agent's name, this is the designated agent. So Epique Realty is the company, and then whichever agent is working with the person puts their name in that blank that they are the agent for this person. It goes over information about this designated agency. Then there's a section on confidentiality, so that if you tell me things, maybe about why you're moving, maybe you're getting a divorce, maybe someone has passed away, maybe you're getting married, and you tell me that you're getting a divorce, but you just really don't want anyone to know that. And so you're looking for a home, and so is your spouse, but you don't want anyone to know. Then I'm not supposed to go and say, well, my people are getting a divorce, so they really have to find somewhere. I would only be able to disclose things that you want me to disclose. So this keeps things confidential so that your private life stays private. The rest of the contract goes over limitations on the broker's authority and responsibility. So it gives you a list of things that the broker is responsible for and the limitations on those things. There's quite a few of those. There's about a page and a half of that. It gives some more terminology and some more definitions, and then there is a signature. So you sign this, and whoever else is buying the home with you signs this, and then the realtor signs. So this is called the Exclusive Buyer Representation Agreement in the state of Tennessee. So this makes me your designated agent. So what I like to do is when I meet a client, we meet and talk at the house, and we do what's called a touring agreement. That agreement is not like this agreement. It is a non-binding agreement. So it says on the agreement that you will not owe me anything. We are doing a touring service. It also says in there that if you do decide you want to buy something, we go to the home and you love it and it's the one, then we will have to do further paperwork and enter into a more exclusive agreement. So it says that very clearly on the touring agreement. So the touring agreement, we could meet at a home, see the home, and if you don't like me and don't want to work with me, or for whatever reason you don't want to move forward with anything, that agreement allows me to show you the property because we have a written agreement. And then after that, if you never talk to me again, that's okay. So after that touring agreement, if you think that you would like to work together, we can move forward and we can do this exclusive agreement so that I can be your agent and start working for you every day. The difference in the touring agreement a lot of times is that the client may just have a few properties and they don't really necessarily want the agent to do a lot of work for them. They just want them to show up that day and let them into properties. And they want to talk to the agent, meet the agent. And so that way it's a very low commitment way to meet you and let us see if we are a good fit together. So that's the way I like to do things. Not all agents do that. Some agents will require that you sign this agreement before you ever meet them at all. And so that's just not how I do things. And I like to meet the person and decide if we're a good fit and talk to them, get some information from them, and see if I'm going to be able to help them the best. So then at that point, we can move forward into the agreement if we both would like to. And that goes over our exclusive agency agreement in the state of Tennessee. If you have any questions at all, drop me some comments. And don't forget to subscribe so that you'll be notified when I make some more videos to give you some more education on real estate here in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. Have a great day.